Your toddler isn't just playing. They are literally building their brain. And the tool they're using, you already have it at home. There is a moment that happens in almost every home with a toddler. They pull a wooden spoon out of the kitchen drawer, hold it up like a microphone, and start performing to a crowd that only exists in their head. Or they line up every stuffed animal they own, give each one a name, and spend 45 minutes running a school for bears and rabbits that no adult was invited to attend. And what do most parents do in that moment? They smile, maybe they film it, they think how cute. What they don't think is, this is one of the most cognitively demanding things my child is capable of right now. This is their brain working at full capacity. Because nobody told them that's what it actually is. What the science has been showing us for the last 2 decades is this. Imaginative play, the kind where your toddler becomes a character, builds a world, gives objects lives they don't have, is not a break from learning. It's not filler between the important stuff. It is the most accelerated form of learning a toddler's brain can do. And the research connecting it to long-term IQ, emotional intelligence, language development, and academic performance is some of the most consistent data in all of early childhood development. By the time we get to the third thing in this video, you are going to look at your toddler's imaginary world in a way you never have before. So what is actually happening inside the brain when a toddler pretends? Here's something most people don't know. When your toddler pretends, their brain is doing something that genuinely taxes even adult cognition. They are holding two realities at the same time, what is actually true, and what they are deciding is true for the purpose of the game, and moving between both without losing track of either. Researchers call this dual representation. And it requires the prefrontal cortex, the most sophisticated region of the human brain, to work at a real level, not a simple level, a real one. The prefrontal cortex handles what's called executive function. That's the cluster of cognitive skills that predict almost everything that matters later in life. Working memory, flexible thinking, impulse control, the ability to hold a goal in mind while managing whatever is distracting you from it. Every time your toddler picks up a banana and decides it's a phone, they know it's a banana, they're choosing to treat it as a phone, they're keeping that pretense going consistently, they're adjusting when the scenario shifts, they're tracking rules they invented out of nothing. That's not a cute little quirk, that's the prefrontal cortex running hard. There's a reason children who spend real time in imaginative play consistently develop stronger vocabulary than children who don't. When a toddler plays pretend, they need words for things that aren't physically in front of them. They need words for feelings their characters are experiencing. They need words for things that are about to happen, the next scene in the story they're constructing. That forces the brain to pull language from memory, generate new language where the vocabulary isn't there yet, and string ideas together in a sequence that has to follow some internal logic the toddler themselves invented. That's narrative thinking, and narrative thinking is one of the most reliable predictors of reading comprehension and writing ability later in childhood. A study out of the University of Illinois followed children from age 2 through age 7 and found something striking. The complexity of a child's imaginative play at age 3 predicted their reading level at age 7. Not the number of books read to them, not their screen time content, not the educational toys in the playroom. The complexity of the stories they made up. A 3-year-old running a stuffed animal school is building something that will matter 4 years from now. Most parents watching that have no idea. Now here is the piece that doesn't get connected to IQ often enough, but it should be. When a toddler plays pretend, even alone with imaginary characters, they are practicing something neurologically significant. They are inhabiting a point of view that is not their own. They are giving a character thoughts, feelings, motivations. They are letting those internal states drive what happens next in the story. Developmental psychologists call this theory of mind. The understanding that other people have inner lives, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, that are genuinely different from yours. It's one of the most important cognitive milestones in early childhood, and it underlies almost every social skill a child will ever develop. Children who develop strong theory of mind earlier show higher social intelligence, better ability to handle conflict, stronger empathy, significantly better outcomes in learning environments where collaboration matters. And the most consistent predictor of early theory of mind development in toddlers. Richness of imaginative play. Not structured programs, not curated activities, just pretend. The messier and more complicated, the better. This next part is the part most parents find uncomfortable. Imaginative play needs one thing above everything else to actually work: unstructured time with minimal adult direction. And that is genuinely one of the harder things to provide right now, because the instinct of a loving parent when a toddler starts playing is to join in, to nudge the story somewhere, to introduce a learning angle, to redirect it towards something a bit more organized. Every one of those instincts, all of them completely loving, shuts down the exact cognitive process that makes imaginative play valuable. The second an adult takes over the narrative, the child is no longer the author of the world. They're an actor in someone else's story. The executive function training stops. The creative problem-solving stops. The theory of mind practice stops. Research on adult involvement in toddler-free play has shown this consistently. Even well-meaning parental direction reduces the cognitive complexity of what the child is doing within minutes of the adult stepping in. The most useful thing you can do is stay close, stay available, and stay out of the driver's seat. If they pull you into the story, go in on their terms. Be the patient in their pretend hospital. Be the customer at their restaurant. Ask what's on the menu instead of telling them what you'd like. Your job is not to improve the story. It's to show up for it on whatever terms they set. Here's something the research on play makes very clear that most parents find genuinely surprising. The toys don't really matter. Open-ended objects, things with no fixed purpose, produce more complex and longer imaginative play than purpose-built toys almost every time. A cardboard box beats an elaborate playset. Wooden blocks beat a themed figurine collection. A pile of fabric scraps beats a complete play kitchen. The reason is straightforward. An object with a fixed identity limits what the imagination has to do. A toy train is a train. A cardboard tube can be a telescope, a trumpet, a tunnel, a wand, a microphone, a rocket, and at least a dozen other things no adult in the room would have thought of. The brain builds more connections when it has to create meaning than when meaning arrives prepackaged. The most cognitively rich play environment you can give your toddler is probably already somewhere in your house. It just doesn't have a price tag on it. Last thing, and this one is practical. When your toddler shows you their imaginary world, the words you choose in that moment matter more than most parents realize. What's happening in your story? That opens the narrative. It invites vocabulary, sequencing, elaboration. That's nice, closes it. It tells the toddler the adult isn't really interested in the world, just in the fact that the child is busy. Tell me about your character activates theory of mind. It asks the toddler to articulate an inner life that isn't theirs. What happens next builds narrative thinking. It asks the brain to project forward, hold a story arc, and make a decision under creative pressure. None of these are complicated. They're sentences. But children who receive open questions like these during play develop more complex stories over time, stronger expressive language, and richer internal narratives. You're not just watching. Every question you ask is shaping how that brain organizes itself. The wooden spoon microphone, the stuffed animal classroom, the invisible friend with a complicated backstory and very specific feelings about what they will and won't eat. None of that is a detour from your toddler's development. It is the development. Imaginative play is not what toddlers do instead of learning. It is the most powerful cognitive tool their brain has access to right now. It builds the prefrontal cortex. It drives language. It grows empathy. It builds the foundation that everything else will stand on. Your only job is to protect the time for it, to not fill it with structure, to follow where they lead. The world they are building right now is building them.